Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Radiance. I am Dr. Shelly Saxena presenting physics lecture series for NDA, Air Force, Navy and senior secondary recruits. My today's topic is kinematic part 1. In this lecture, we know about the motion of points, objects and system of group of objects without reference to the causes of motion. That means we here did not consider about the forces, and we will not discuss about the forces but only discuss the motion of objects or group of objects. The study of kinematics is often referred to as the geometry of motion. Objects are in motion all around us. Our first topic is distance. What is distance? Actually, distance of any object does not depend on the direction of its motion, so it is a scalar quantity, and the distance of an object can be defined as the complete path traveled by an object. That means if an object moves from position A and goes to point B and then again returns to point A, then the distance is the total length of the path between the starting point to the end point, and that is always a positive value. The unit of distance is meter. And as we say earlier, distance can only have positive values. Our next topic is displacement. In layman language, distance and displacement are the same things, but in physics, there is a huge difference between distance and displacement, as distance is a scalar quantity but displacement is a vector quantity because it involves magnitude as well as direction also. But in distance, there is no involvement of direction. And displacement is defined as the change in position of an object. It is a vector quantity and has a direction and magnitude. And since it is a vector quantity, so it is represented as an arrow that points from the starting position to the final position. For example, if an object moves from position A to position B, then the object's position changes. This change in position of an object is known as displacement. Here displacement has some value, but if our object moves from point A to B and then again from point B to A, then in that case there is no displacement of an object because initial and final position are same, that is position A. So we can say that displacement is 0 in this case. So we can also say that displacement can be positive, can be negative, or it may be even 0. So it is also possible that the object has covered a certain distance. We can say that object has covered a certain distance but its overall displacement is 0. Next topic is speed. Speed is a very layman language which refers to us how fast an object is moving. But we can say that speed is a scalar quantity because direction is not involved in this case. And how can we calculate the value of speed? Speed is simply calculated by speed is equal to distance upon time. Mind it, here we use the value of distance, which is a scalar quantity. So we can say that speed is also a scalar quantity. It is a ratio of distance and time. Speed refers to how fast an object is moving. Speed can be thought of as the rate at which an object covers distance. A fast moving object has a high speed and covers a relatively large distance in a short amount of time. Similarly, slow moving object has a low speed. That means it covers a small amount of distance in the same amount of time. An object with no movement at all has a 0 speed. Next topic is velocity. Speed and velocity looks alike same, but both are different, and the difference is that velocity is a vector quantity. Velocity refers to rate at which an object changes its position. When evaluating the velocity of an object, one must keep track of direction. For example, if a person moving one step forward and one step back, always returning to the original starting position, while this might result in a lot of activity, it would result in zero velocity because the person always returns to its original position. The motion would never result in a change in position. In this case, displacement as well as velocity is zero. According to definition of velocity, it is a rate of displacement and time. And if we want to calculate the value of velocity, the formula is velocity is equal to displacement upon time. And mind it, here we use the value of displacement, and displacement is a vector quantity. So we can say that velocity is again a vector quantity. If a person in motion wishes to increase its velocity, then that person must make every effort to maximize the amount that it is displaced from its original position. When evaluating the velocity of an object, one must keep track of direction. The correct form of velocity is 44 meters per second north, not only 44 meters per second. If we write that the velocity of an object is 44 meters per second, so in that case we can say that it is incomplete information, because velocity is a vector quantity and it must include magnitude as well as direction, but in 44 meter per second there is no direction involved. So the correct answer is 44 meter per second north, in which direction is involved. Velocity can be positive, it can be negative, or it has zero values. Again, our new topic is average speed and average velocity. In our daily life, many times we have to calculate the average values of speed, average value of velocity, because every second velocity and speed changes, but we have to conclude the mean value, average value of the speed. So we have to calculate average value of speed, and average speed during the course of a motion is computed using the following formula. Average speed is equal to total distance traveled upon time of travel. Similarly, we can calculate the average velocity, and the formula to calculate the average velocity is as follows. Average velocity is equal to displacement upon time taken. And one interesting point, instantaneous speed. As the name suggests, instantaneous speed is the speed at any given instant of time. So we can represent average speed in terms of instantaneous speed. And the definition of average speed in terms of instantaneous speed is the average instantaneous speeds found simply by a distance time ratio. Our next point is acceleration. Acceleration means increase in velocity. Acceleration is defined as the rate at which an object changes its velocity. An object is accelerating if it is changing its velocity. Again, acceleration is a vector quantity because it involves velocity, which is a vector quantity. If an object is not changing its velocity, then we can say that the object is not accelerating. Anytime an object's velocity is changing, the object is said to be accelerating. It has an acceleration. Under motion of acceleration, velocity increasing with time. And how can we calculate the value of acceleration? For this, we have a formula. Acceleration is equal to change in velocity upon time. In case of constant acceleration, the velocity is changing by a constant amount each second. So we should not confuse with an object with a constant velocity. Constant velocity and constant acceleration are two different concepts. In constant velocity, velocity remains same for every instant, but in constant acceleration, velocity is changing by a constant amount each second. So these two are different terms. Do not confuse this. Both are different terms. And next topic is retardation. Retardation is just the reverse of acceleration. In acceleration, velocity of an object increases, but in retardation, velocity of an object decreases. Retardation is the ratio of negative change of velocity and time. Since its retardation again involves velocity, which is a vector quantity, so retardation is again a vector quantity. Under motion of retardation, velocity decreases with time. Retardation is equal to minus change in velocity upon time. Negative acceleration is known as retardation. Our next topic is motion along a straight line path. If only one out of three coordinates specifying the position of the object changes with respect to time, then the motion is called one-dimensional motion. It is also known as rectilinear motion or linear motion. We can explain this by using various examples. Some of these are, first one is motion of a train along a straight line is rectilinear or linear motion. Motion of freely falling objects is again a rectilinear motion. Now we study something about equations for uniformly accelerated motion. For this, we consider an object moving in a straight line with uniform velocity u, and after time t, its velocity changes to v. So we can say that u is its initial velocity and v is its final velocity. If the uniform acceleration is a and the distance traveled by the object in time t is s, then the following relations are obtained, which are called equations of one-dimensional motion. Our first equation is v means final velocity is equal to u means initial velocity plus at. So we can say our first equation is v is equal to u plus at. Second equation of one-dimensional motion gives us the distance traveled in time t, and that equation is s is equal to u multiplied by t plus half at square. And our third equation of one-dimensional motion is v square is equal to u square plus 2as. These are very important equations for uniformly accelerated motion in kinematics. So students, you should learn all these three equations by heart so that you can put values and calculate the required value. And now we consider the equation of motion under gravity, when things fall freely or away from the earth. This is called the acceleration due to gravity. Here we use g in spite of a. A gives us acceleration and g gives us gravitational acceleration. Value of gravitational acceleration g is nearly equal to 9.8 meters per second square. The motion of objects falling towards the earth or thrown away from the earth is called gravitational motion. The equation in this case is represented by these three equations. First equation is V final velocity is equal to U initial velocity plus gt. So we can again revise this equation. First equation of motion under gravity is V is equal to U plus gt. Our second equation of motion under gravity gives us the value of the distance travelled in time t, and that is S is equal to ut plus half gt square. Again we revise our second equation. S is equal to ut plus half gt square, and our third equation of motion under gravity gives us the value as v square is equal to u square plus 2gs. Students, learn these equations. Now the next topic is distance traveled by an object in a particular seconds. Many times we have to calculate the value of the distance traveled in 9th second. If our body traveled 12 seconds, then what is the value of the distance traveled by an object in 9th second? We can easily calculate this by using the following method. If in t minus 1 seconds body covers a distance st minus 1, and in t seconds body covers a distance st, then distance traveled by a body in tth second. Distance traveled by a body in tth second is equal to s. Now here we can calculate the value of s as s is equal to st minus 1, which gives us a value s is equal to u plus half a 2t minus 1. Again we can revise this equation. Distance traveled by an object in particular second gives as s is equal to u plus half a 2t minus 1. Students, learn this formula and directly calculate the value of the distance traveled by an object in a particular second. Our next topic is linear momentum. Linear momentum of any object is defined as the product of mass and the velocity of an object. Linear momentum is denoted by p. So how can we calculate the value of linear momentum? We can easily calculate the value of linear momentum by using the formula p is equal to mv. And as we see, linear momentum formula involves the value of velocity, which is a vector quantity. So we can say that linear momentum is also a vector. Momentum is directly proportional to the object's mass and also its velocity. So the greater is object's mass or the greater its velocity, the greater its momentum. Linear momentum is a vector quantity, as we say earlier. Relation between linear momentum and force is given as F is equal to dp by dt, where dp is a change in momentum in time dt. According to this relation, the rate of change of momentum of a body is equal to the external force applied on the body, and the change in momentum always takes place in the direction of the force. Our next topic is impulse of a force. Impulse of a force means if force act for a very short time, then we calculate the value of impulse. And impulse is defined as a force multiplied by time it acts over. For example, tennis racket strikes a ball. An impulse is applied to the ball. The racket put a force on the ball for a very short time period. Impulse in physics is a term that is used to describe the effect of force acting over time to change the momentum of an object. That means there must be a relation between impulse and the momentum. Impulse is always represented by a symbol capital J, and sometimes it is represented by capital I. And usually unit of impulse is Newton seconds, and sometimes it is also expressed as kilogram meter per second. And then how can we calculate the value of impulse? Value of impulse can be calculated by using a formula capital J is equal to F dot dt, where F is a force which acts for a very small time dt. Impulse is related to momentum, and the relation between the impulse and momentum is J is equal to dp, or we can write it as J is equal to P final minus P initial, or we can write it as J is equal to mv minus mu, where v is the final velocity and u is the initial velocity. In this way we can also relate impulse with momentum. So students, there are two formula for impulse. First one is J is equal to F dot dt, and second one is J is equal to mv minus mu. You should learn both these formulas so that you can easily calculate the various numerical problems which are given at the end of the topic. Principle of conservation of linear momentum. Our next topic is principle of conservation of linear momentum, which is our last topic also. The law of conservation of momentum is one of the prominent laws in physics. The principle of conservation of momentum tells us that the total momentum of a system is always conserved. It is not possible for us to change the total momentum of a system. And now we consider the statement of the principle of conservation of momentum, and the statement is: if no external force acts upon a system of two or more bodies, then the total momentum of the system remains constant. Therefore, we can say that momentum can be neither created nor be destroyed. The principle of conservation of momentum is a direct consequence of Newton's third law of motion. Following are the examples of conservation of momentum: air-filled balloons. Second one is system of guns and bullets. Third one is motion of rockets. So now students, that's all about kinematics. Here we study everything that is essential for us for our competitive exams related to kinematics. This is our kinematics part 1. In kinematics part 2, we will consider various examples, various numerical problems, and we solve them here only in this channel. And we also give various problems, numerical problems, to you as an assignment. You should solve these and that problems, and if there is some problem, you should go through my channel and ask me the question, ask me the solution of that problems. In this way we can easily complete the topic kinematics in 2 lectures: kinematics part 1, which deals with only theory, and kinematics part 2, that deals with numerical problems and other solutions.